Now, the new year is often one of the few times when we actually analyse our habits and look to make a change for the better. And for many of us, alcohol consumption will be high on that hit list. Sarah Turner and Lucy Rocca, like many women, realised they were too reliant on the demon booze and made a serious commitment to give it all up. It's all in their new book, The Sober Revolution, and they join me now. Good morning to you both, Sarah and Lucy.
Hello.
Morning.
I'll come to you first then, Sarah. Tell me when you first realised you had a drinking problem.
I think I realised I had a drink problem when I got to about 30. During my 20s, I'd just had fun with it, but by the time I got to 30, I was beginning to have blackouts and being very concerned about it. And certainly after I had my son at 32, and there were hormonal changes and motherhood and stresses of all of that and work, I was drinking far too much, and I understood that I was, but unfortunately I wasn't sensible enough to stop at that point.
So what was your drinking then? Was it on your own? Was it socially?
It was both, really. I was drinking socially to begin with, and then it started to be more home drinking because I was too embarrassing to take out. And it revolved very much around wine. Wine was the social salve and my salve, and it seemed to give me what I wanted.
How does it make you feel to say something like, I was too embarrassing to take out?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I said, how does it feel to say you were too embarrassing to take out?
I mean, it's a pretty awful statement to make, but certainly that was the case. And having realised that was the case, then I had to do something about it.
Was there a reason for the drinking?
There were lots of excuses for the drinking. We all have them, and I drank upon them. But I see as a therapist now, I realise that all my drinking was symptomatic, and I certainly didn't have a disease. It was a symptom of all the other things that had gone on in my life that I hadn't actually dealt with properly.
So in terms of actual figures then, I mean, how much do you think you would have been drinking a week at the height?
At the height of my drinking career, I was drinking probably 100 to 150 units a week, on average, sometimes more, sometimes less. It depended on how much I slept.
When you consider, the NHS say that you shouldn't be regularly drinking more than 2 to 3 units a day as a female, 150 units a week.
Yeah, it does sound extraordinary, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And a bottle of wine has 10 units in it, and the majority of my clients drink at least a bottle of wine a night.
Mm. And in terms of your health then, it must have been having an impact.
Well, I was very, very fortunate that it didn't have a huge impact on my health at that time. But later on, when I got to my 40s and I was sober, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And there is no doubt that I had stacked the odds because there wasn't a genetic link in my family with breast cancer. And heavy drinking is it's well known to be a risk factor.
Lucy, let's bring you in here, because tell me about your relationship with drink then. How did that start, and when did you get the wake-up call?
Well, I started drinking as a teenager, and like Sarah, it didn't present any major problems for quite a long time. It was a very social thing. It was something that all my friends did. The alarm bells first started ringing when I was in my late 20s, and I got divorced, and I started drinking alone more, really to self-medicate, I suppose, because I was depressed and lonely and struggling financially. So I got into a habit of drinking a bottle of wine in an evening after my daughter had gone to bed. And once I'd turned 30, blackouts started increasing. I always drank more when I went out. I was also embarrassing, I think, on many occasions, and would get bundled into a taxi early and sort of forced to leave wherever I was because I was too drunk. And I woke up when I was 35 in a hospital bed, which had never happened before. It was a complete one-off, but I had no memory of getting there. And I'd collapsed outside my house, and somebody had found me and taken me to hospital in an ambulance. So that was my wake-up call, which was 3 years ago almost.
What kind of effect did all of this have on your family both? Did they know very clearly what was going on?
My family did know that I sort of, in inverted commas, liked to drink, I suppose, but it was never so excessive that people were really overtly worried and thought perhaps I was an alcoholic and I needed to get help or whatever. It was just more, I had a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a party girl, I suppose, and sometimes I took it a bit too far. The effect it had on my daughter was quite innocuous, but now that I don't drink, I see that it had quite a big impact on her, really, and the impact came in the guise that I was always slightly hungover, I was tired, I was a bit snappy, I suffered from mood swings, and now I put all that down to the alcohol because I don't drink anymore, and all of those factors have disappeared out of my life.
Sarah, what about you? I mean, how did it affect your family?
Well, there were some appalling consequences, really, but I was very, very lucky to have their love and support, I guess, and I just wanted the old Sarah back, the one that the one that my husband first met. He wanted back, and I was always full of life and joie de vivre, and that had gone. In the beginning, it gives you confidence, alcohol, for sure, and then it cruelly strips it away, which is what it did to me, and I had no self-esteem at all, no self-worth, and felt a complete failure. But fortunately, I kept my family. I lost most everything else, but I kept my family, and for that, I'm eternally grateful.
So you both would say you were dependent on alcohol. You couldn't cope without it in a day?
Oh, absolutely dependent, yeah, no two ways. Emotionally dependent, for sure. I mean, Lucy was dependent, and she was cleverer than I to stop before she got totally addicted to the stuff, which unfortunately I did.
There will be lots of people out there, won't there, that come home every night, busy day, juggling the demands of work and family, put the children to bed, glass of wine as a treat just to chill out. How does that turn into a relationship with the alcohol that they depend on?
I think
it depends on the size of the glass, doesn't it, Lucy?
Yeah, I think it's very easy to become sort of a habitual drinker. It happened to me very sneakily, really, and I for a long time I remained in denial and classed myself as just the same as everybody else. But towards the end, it was just very problematic, and it stopped me doing a lot of things. And I mean, that's what the book is really about. It's to show people that life without drinking can actually be better, and all the things you think you're getting from alcohol, it's causing all the problems, really, and your life can be a lot better without it.
And the one thing I would like to say, that Lucy and I aren't on a temperance mission. Anybody that can moderate the drinking, that's absolutely great, and if they're having fun with it, stupendous. This is a book really for women who have just become really concerned about the quantity that they are drinking on a possible nightly basis now.
We'll hear a little bit more from you in a moment. If you can both stay with us, that'd be great. It's fascinating to hear what you've... You're listening to BBC Radio Wales. This is Rachel Treadaway Williams in for Jason. We're speaking to Sarah Turner and Lucy Rocca about their new book, The Sober Revolution, their journey to give up alcohol after realising they'd become dependent on it. Interested both to hear, could you not just have cut down? Why did you decide to go cold turkey, as it were, and give it up totally?
I tried to moderate on several occasions for a few years before I gave up completely, and it was just a growing awareness that I had that I just didn't seem to have an off switch, and I always intended to just have one or two glasses, but it always led to drinking the whole bottle and sometimes more, and I came really to the conclusion that if I was ever going to be healthy and happy, I was just going to have to stop altogether, because I knew that I couldn't find that middle ground.
Apologies.
Ditto, really, and as much as it would be great to moderate, it simply isn't the case for some women, and men for that matter, that we concentrate more on women, and we drink for different reasons to men. We have different ways of drinking, and it's 14 units a week, which is the safe guidelines, just wouldn't have got me to where I wanted to be, which was... very, very high, and it didn't work for me at all.
So how difficult a process was it to give up alcohol altogether for you, mentally and physically?
I think the mental part was far worse than the physical part. I mean, as I said, physically I wasn't badly affected by it, that mentally it was quite a grieving process, to be honest. I was kissing goodbye to a constant companion of many years, and I'd drunk upon everything, good times and bad times.
And Lucy, yourself?
Yeah, the same for me. I had no physical withdrawals at all, and it was quite easy to stop in that respect. But mentally, it took about a year to rewire my brain, really, and get used to living life without alcohol and experiencing emotions, good and bad, stress, boredom, all required new coping strategies once the alcohol had gone.
So in the book then, I mean, what advice do you give to people out there? Firstly, to recognise the signs, and then the steps to go about doing something about it.
Well, the signs that we really pinpoint is that repeated failed effort to moderate, that a lot of people, some people do it for years and years, where they're hoping that this time it'll be different. You know, last time I got really horribly drunk and made a fool of myself, but this time hopefully I'll get it right. And doing that repeatedly for years and years, it's kind of, we try and help people come to the realisation that things probably won't change if they're that type of drinker, and then really to offer them hope and strategies for living without alcohol, and to help them realise that it's actually a very positive lifestyle choice and not something that we should be worried about or fearful of.
And just reiterate then, I mean, the benefits that you've both found then.
Well, benefits to me are just basically I've got rid of my depression and my panic attacks are the two major things. I also had really bad mood swings, which impacted on my family, and I wasn't very productive. I just didn't really do anything in the evening because I would just drink a bottle of wine. It's very easy to drink your whole life away like that. And since I stopped drinking 3 years ago, I've written 3 books. I've launched and now run a website with 20,000 members called Soberistas.com, which is a very busy job. I've had a baby, so I've got a teenager and a baby, and I've got a very hectic life, which I just cope with really well. And gone is that gloomy, depressed, tired person that I used to be.
And how did you two find each other then? Were you friends before, or is it the alcohol problems that brought you together?
Brought us together. I run a practice in Harrogate that treats women only for alcohol misuse. And I spoke to Lucy when she launched her website, which is a fabulous place, because we had a very common goal, which it was to be totally passionate about showing other women that they were never alone. Most women feel as though they're alone with this, and it's not the case at all. It's a hidden epidemic, and Lucy's website has shown that. And so we've become friends over that time, and obviously written, well, 2 books together, and Lucy's written another one on her own.
And in terms of the stories that you've heard along the way, give us a little taste of those, of the kind of turnaround in lives that people have experienced when they've realised and done something about it.
Sarah, do you want to go?
Sarah?
Sorry, I couldn't quite catch that one.
I just say, you know, some of the people that you've come across along the way. I mean, give us a little taste of the kind of change around in life that they've experienced when they've managed to accept their problem and do something about it.
None of them have become evangelical or preachy about it. They've done it for themselves, Rachel. They've done it because they value themselves now. They realise that there's more to life than diving into a bottle of Pinot every night. And they're being the best they can be. They're fulfilling their potential. And it's done in a very subtle way and a very humble way for a lot of them. They've gained much more good friendships. They've inspired other women, and their lives are on an even keel, and they have no regrets, and they have a huge amount of time back. They wasted so much time, and we all take for granted our health and our time. And feel very relieved that they're not trapped in a cage that revolves around wine.
And Lucy, I mean, is there a particular story that's touched you along the way?
There are so many. We have got, you know, so many members, and there is a very common thread that runs through all the stories that I read on the website, which is just that relief that people have. They've got this fear about stopping drinking. They're terrified of what life might be like without that crutch. But once they actually do it with the support of each other's help on the website, they just find that their self-confidence comes back, their self-esteem, their relationships improve, they like themselves again, and they start investing time in interesting things, you know, hobbies, pastimes, catching up with old friends, and just doing so much more with their life. And it's lovely to see.
Sarah and Lucy, it's lovely to hear your stories. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
That was Sarah Turner and Lucy Rocca on their book, The Sober Revolution, their decision to give up on alcohol for good.